Life can be chaotic and complicated for couples who are trying to balance work, children, and find time to keep the fire burning in their marriage. This evening, we will be talking with a couple who is doing just that. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Living a Godly Marriage. I'm your host, Voncille Greene. Joining me is my co-host, my husband, Melvin Greene. We're also pleased to have with us this evening Rachier and Tonya Brown. Welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us. So before we get into how you juggle all of those balls in the air, we want to get to know a little bit about you. So can you tell us how long you've been married and how many children do you have?
Sure. We've been married for 10 years, and we have a total of 4 children.
Four children. Are they girls, boys?
We have all boys.
Oh my, all boys. And
Yeah.
what are their ages?
So we have an 11-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and also a 1-year-old.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes.
We got one girl.
We do. Her name is Ariel. She is a dog.
I was a little bit confused there for a minute. Okay.
But I'm sure everybody would say that she's a valuable member of the family.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
Especially
Yes.
the grandparent.
Yeah. And how old is Ariel?
Ariel just turned 9
Wow,
this year.
she's pretty
Wow.
old, yeah, for a dog.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay.
She's
Yeah.
a senior.
Okay. Well, we wanted to find out, again, how long y'all been married and how many children you have. But we also want to find out a little bit about where you all are working. So where do you work, Tonya?
So I am an executive director at a child care facility called SKC. We have a total of 4 locations located in the Prince George's County area.
Okay, so I have to ask you, with all that responsibility, how many hours do you work a week?
Whew, a lot. No, I try to stay about at least 40 to 45 hours a week.
Okay.
And
all
are
right.
you stationary at one location, or do
No,
you travel?
I actually, my position actually allows me to travel to all of the locations
Okay.
because I support the directors.
Oh, okay. And Rachier?
Sure. I'm a career federal employee, and I'm also a property manager on property management company, Griffin Property Management.
Oh.
So I know you asked about hours.
A lot.
It seems like it, but it's flexible, you know. So for the most part, I work about 50 hours a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So could we back up just a little bit? Because I want to know, how did you guys meet?
You tell the story.
He couldn't resist me. No, we actually met on the campus of University of Maryland Eastern Shore. It was homecoming weekend, and he walked right past me. And so when he walked right past me, he turned around, couldn't resist me. No, I'm kidding. And he said to me, can I speak with you for a second? So we were talking, and we exchanged numbers that day.
Were
Yeah.
you both going to school there then at that time?
No, he was actually going to school there. I was actually visiting with my cousin.
Oh, okay. How about that?
And where did you go to university?
I went to Coppin State University.
In
Okay.
Baltimore. Yeah.
In Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Melzo's stomping ground, right?
Yeah. Grew up in Baltimore, so. But wanted to ask you as well. So you both have busy jobs. You both have 4 kids and a dog. And boy, is that challenging trying to manage all that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
We have a routine that we
Okay.
have to stick to in order to make our lives better. For the most part, we separate as far as dropping off the children in the morning, and then I normally pick all of them up in the afternoon. Come home, dinner, baths, homework, playtime, and then of course
Prepare for the next day.
Prepare for the next day. After that, we're pretty much exhausted. He pretty much has to finish off his property management stuff, or I'll have to finish off something that I didn't get finished during the day at work, and then we'll come together in the evening and
Yeah.
to share.
Yeah.
some time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a juggle, you know, because there's only so many hours in a day,
Right.
and so what you realize is that by the time you get off of work, and you got to pick up the kids, and you finally get the kids, and you know, deal with dinner, homework, the bath, it's not a whole lot of time left for me time, and it's not a whole lot of time left for the interactions with the kids. As important as that is just to have time, you know, amongst ourselves, you know, it's also important for the kids to have time with us as well. So, you know, sometimes you got to be kind of creative with how you get the time. And, you know, I always like to have fun with it. So, you know, I'm always, when we come home, the kids will run and I'll be on the floor wrestling and playing with them while she's cooking dinner or something like that. So,
Do you cook, Rachier?
yes, I cook some hot dogs, beans,
And the kids love
hamburgers.
it.
Oh yeah, peanut butter and jelly. Very good.
Rephrase that question. Do you cook real meals?
Right. Well, since this is the get to know you segment, got another question for each of you. We'll start with Raj. How did you know that she was the one for you?
Yeah, so not to really sound cheesy or anything like that, but at the time when we met, you know, we wasn't. I don't think neither one of us was out looking for a life partner, you know, so to speak. But I kind of knew early on that it was something different, and I can't really explain it. But it was something different. It was something unique. You know, I prayed on it.
Good.
You know, and you know, God answered my prayers. I mean,
Right.
and you know, and that's literally what really happened.
Great.
You know, so that's how I knew.
Oh, he will let you know. That's for sure.
Yes,
That's for
yes.
sure.
So,
He actually prayed and asked God to remove me from his life. But God had other plans, obviously. No, I'm kidding.
Well, so you gotta tell the whole story now,
Yes, tell a whole story.
'cause that sounds bad.
Well, like he said, we weren't looking for longevity when we first met. We we were in college and living our college lives, and
right.
when we got together, it wasn't to actually get together. It was just for the moment.
Right.
When we both came home from school, we kind of interacted with each other. And it's funny because it was his birthday one year, and I can admit I did forget it.
Oh.
And I ended up calling him the next day and kind of told a little fib, saying, I did remember. And he kind of called me out on it.
You didn't answer the phone.
He called me out on it. And
okay.
after that, our relationship was kind of shaky. And he basically said to God, if this is not the woman for me, remove her out of my life.
Yes.
And so, like I said, God had other plans.
All right.
I was on the other end praying.
See, you're leaving pieces out. So if we're gonna talk, we're gonna talk. So what happened was, she forgot my birthday, right? And at the time, I was saying happy birthday to her, well in advance, right? So I'm like, okay, we're gonna do something about that. So we kind of parted ways for a while, and I was not going to, start the process up again. But she got creative with getting my attention, So that kind of brings back to what I was saying earlier about praying on it, because when I make up my mind, I make up my mind. And she could tell you I'm pretty stubborn. When I I'm reasonable, but when I make up my mind, it's pretty much set. And but like I said, she got creative and snuck back in there, and but I always knew it was something. I always knew it would work. So she, so it worked out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how long did you guys date before you actually popped the question?
That was a while.
8 years.
So we've been married for 10 years, but we actually met in 2001. So
We
like
got married in 2009.
Yes. Yeah. So it was, and we was engaged for about a year. So, so you could say about 6 years, at least 5 good years. So yeah. So it wasn't, we took our time and to make sure that we was both ready for it. And I think it was definitely the right thing to do.
Right. Now, one other question I wanted to ask you: Did you all have premarital counseling at all from a minister or something?
We did.
Yes.
Great. Tell me about that.
We actually had it with our pastor at the time, and at that time when he was giving it, it was with other couples, and so it was kind of like a group session.
Oh, okay.
And
We had our individual time.
we had our individual time where we talked and he ministered to us. And one thing that stuck out to us the most was every year is not going to be the same. You'll have some good years, and you'll have some bad years, and you'll have some really bad years. But at the end of the day, basically,
So
how
what you're saying is that, you can have a straight shot where you have a bad year after bad year, or good year after good year. But just understand that it's not always going to be the same as you know it,
Right.
as in the present. So what we realized is that was probably like one of the best advice that we got. Since we've been married, and even before we got married, our church family has really, gave us a lot of guidance, a lot of. I could be honest with you. We probably wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for our church family.
correct.
We go to a small church, and the members are more than just church members, they're family. We go to each other's birthday parties and things, and so we actually are a family, a church family. So
we're going to ask you to put a pin in there right there, and we're going to go to a break, and we'll be right back to pick up where we left off.
Awesome.
Okay.
Do you remember our first group photo? This is it. Smiles all around, even though we were all nervous.
Who could have imagined that our first weekend together would soon turn into a lifetime of memories?
You're an amazing young man. Your brothers and sisters really look up to you. They're a big brother.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my third child, who was 17 at the time.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
I ain't never felt so much love before in my life.
Welcome back to Living a Godly Marriage. We have been talking with Rachier and Tonya Brown, and at our break, Rachier, you were talking about how important it is to have the support of your church family. So if you could continue to talk a little more about that.
Sure. Yeah, so basically what I was saying is that it's important, it was important for us to have the community of our church family. They actually played a great part in who we are, and even before, you know, we got married, we had the counseling session with our pastor, and we continue to have like marital counseling sessions with, you know, within our church group continuously. A lot of times you may hear people say, oh, I don't need counseling and things like that because they think it's a sign of there's a problem. But what we've known even from the beginning is that you shouldn't have to wait until there becomes a problem to have counseling. The reason why you go to counseling is so you won't have problems or know how to deal with them. So
it's sort of like a car needs a tune-up every once in a while. Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
You can say that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think it's really important because in premarital counseling, the person can ask you questions that you may not think about. For example, both of you all have careers. What happens if one gets a job offer in California? How are you going to handle that? Questions that you don't think of. You know, it's the old saying that love is blind, but marriage is an eye opener. So that's why, you know, premarital counseling is important. That's why we had premarital counseling. So we recommend that to all couples. You know you're in love, but you need to get some premarital counseling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, because oftentimes couple will prepare for the wedding, but not prepare for the marriage.
Correct.
And that is so important, that premarital counseling, because you know there's some knowns and then there's some unknowns.
Correct.
That will take place in marriage. So it's good to have that connection with your church, the support of your church family. And so apparently you both were believers before
Correct.
Yes.
you
That's
got
great.
married. So that is really wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yes. So you talked about your 4 wonderful boys, and you talked a little bit about your routine, you know, how you get things done. I would be interested to know how you two find time to spend quiet time together.
Sure. So, you want me to start? Okay, I go first this time. You know, kind of like with what we said about church. You know, the marriage itself, even though it's between a man and a woman, you have the support of your family, and your family extends beyond just your, you know, biological family. It's your community. And you know, they say that it takes a village to raise a child, and we have a village of children. It takes even more to help raise them. So, but I don't know what we could do. I don't know where we will be if it wasn't for like the support of our family. You know, my mother, her mother, her sisters. You know, just having that family support. That when you need time to get away and just rebuild and reconnect together, someone is there to someone there is there to watch the kids that the kids have a relationship with.
Exactly.
Correct.
You know,
Yes.
and for that, and I'll just say, you know, we can't say thank you enough, because for those people that are part of our network that do volunteer to step up and watch our kids, you know, I just, you know, thank you for not having us feel like you're doing us a favor.
Right.
You know, it's a lot to watch 4 kids, even for 1 hour. You
Right.
know,
Right.
You know, so you know, so words can't express our gratitude for that, and that's why we are able to connect how we are,
Right.
because we do have that support system when we need it.
Now, that support system can come into play? Do you ever, just as a couple, get away or get some time together?
Yeah. For the most part, we'll plan a date night,
Oh, that's
Yes,
or
that's
we'll
really
plan
important.
stay in where we'll put the kids to bed at a certain time and watch movies, Netflix and chill.
Oh, sure.
We'll also,
Right.
for our anniversary, we'll normally go away somewhere where most of the time my mom will watch the kids, or we have a cousin that we trust to watch the children as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great because, you know, having 3 kids ourselves, one thing I learned is when the kids go, it's not a vacation, it's a trip. So
Yeah.
when you get away as a couple, then it can be a vacation and you can, you know, enjoy the time together. When the kids go, you got to feed them, clothe them, still put them to bed, take care of them, and that's a trip. That's not a vacation.
Yes.
So I'm glad to hear
Absolutely.
you do that.
yes, yes.
That's
Now,
so true.
how often do you have date night? Is it once a week or once every 2
It varies.
weeks?
You know, so we try to get out at least once every 2 weeks.
That's good.
And sometimes we could get really lucky when we, you know, get out every weekend. You know, maybe for a month. But it kind of varies. You know, well, what I found out is when you have kids, you have a lot of friends that have kids,
Yes.
and you
Yeah.
always get a lot of invites to like birthday parties,
parties.
baby
Yes,
showers, things of that. So usually our Saturdays, especially during a certain period of the year, are like jam packed with, you know, like functions where you're supporting others because you want to return the support that others gave you.
Right.
Right.
So you know, so we get out as much as we can. So, but at least, you know, just, you know, a couple of times throughout the month.
Sometimes we'll have to say, look, we're going out this time. Let's plan for it. That's it. That's all.
Okay. So
Just
planning
do it.
is important, and
Yes,
planning is a
correct.
sign of a commitment to
Absolutely.
do
It's
it.
essential.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, we could put a lot of work activities on our calendar, but we need to do the same thing with our spouse and with our family. So what do you do to balance the work time and with family time? How do you handle that?
So the good thing about my job is it's flexible to where I can go in whenever I want to, and I can leave whenever I want to. Not necessarily. Let me take that back. I can't leave whenever I want to, but it's flexible enough to where if I have to do something with family, I'm able to do so, and I'll have to plan it in reference to whatever it is I have to do. And that's the same with his job as well. It's more of the planning purposes as far as him able to be flexible in his schedule to where as though we're able to balance that out.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, who stays home with the children if one of the children gets sick? Is that something
We kind of rotate.
you rotate? So
Yeah.
you
Rotate.
work at
Yeah.
home as well, right? You can work from home.
Yeah. Well, I don't work from home while the kids are at home.
Correct.
Because I can't work from home while the kids. No, literally, I can't.
Can't get
Right.
nothing done.
It's no peace. But like I said, I mean, I have flexibility with leave and things like that. But you know, with 4 kids, you find out very quickly that sick leave is a must. You know, you go. You know, there's doctor's appointments all the time,
Correct.
planned and unplanned.
Correct.
You know, there's always runny noses or
Fevers
fevers
or
other things, and you know, and if a kid gets sick, they get kicked out of daycare for a couple of days, and
Right.
that's
Right.
you got to plan that too.
Yes.
So I hear you say planning, but what I'm also hearing is commitment to family.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that work-life balance, you always have to keep in mind that it should be your family comes before your job.
Oh, absolutely.
Unfortunately, in marriages sometimes, especially if they're not functioning as they should, when the wife will devote more time to the kids than to the husband, and the husband will spend more time with the job instead of with the family. But, you know, to do it God's way, you know, the family, beginning with your spouse, needs to come first. And that's a commitment, and it does take planning and scheduling, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just think we're blessed from the standpoint that within our careers, you know, it's flexible. You know, we both had jobs where it wasn't as flexible. But you know, so we're lucky because the situation that we're in, I don't think a lot of families, you know, especially young families, are able to actually do what we're able to do. You know.
So Tonya, let me ask you, if you were giving advice to other wives, what tips would you give them about balancing family life with work and quiet time with your husband?
My first tip would be to make time for yourself, because although the man is the head of the household, you're pretty much essentially running the household. So make sure you are planning ahead so that in the event where you need to step out of yourself, someone else can step in, meaning your husband can step in and take over wherever is needed. For instance, I know for myself, we normally balance like lunches and baths, and of course he can't do hair, but hair and all that. So try to divide the household.
Yes.
Right. We hear you.
Yes. And quickly, Rachier, if you could tell us a tip you would give to a husband about.
Sure. I'll say first, just start off by knowing yourself. You know, everybody have different needs. I tend to go to bed late and wake up early. My wife, if she can help it, she would go to bed early and wake up late. But it starts with knowing yourself, because you know we all have different needs, and in a relationship you got to complement each other. So once you have that, just you know, use your resources, your community networks, and you know, reconnect that way.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, as we wind down our show, let's summarize and recap some of the tips. Maintaining a work-life balance means, first of all, you decide to make your family a priority, and that means you're going to spend time with your family. If you can't control your calendar, it's going to control you, definitely. Secondly, focus on the needs instead of wants. Sometimes people want to put in overtime and work extra jobs to get wants, you know, a bigger house, another car, extra TV, but the focus should be on the needs and not necessarily the wants. And another tip is to listen to your spouse when they say you're getting out of balance. You know, it's easy to kind of dismiss them and say, no, I'm handling it. But you may not be, and usually your spouse can pick that up. And the fourth thing is to make adjustments when needed. Okay, so you do have to adjust. In closing, Voncille and I want to thank our special guests, Rachier and Tonya Brown. Also, Voncille and I want to hear from you. If there are topics you want us to cover in future shows, or you have questions about marriage, send us an email at livingagodlymarriage@gmail.com. You can also call us on 301-327-4339, or watch this and past shows on our YouTube channel, Living a Godly Marriage. We want to thank you for watching, and remember, living a godly marriage is the best marriage.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you very much.
Great job.